Säg Etienne Moostoos-Lafferty kisepisim.
Layla kisepisim.
So I'm here again, and Layla's here again, and we're here back at our place, in our special place, and we're really excited to bring to you new moon teachings. And Layla's going to talk a little bit about birds, and we're going to share with you all the cool things that are happening during this moon. So we haven't noticed a whole lot of changes during this moon. In fact, the only thing that I'm really noticing is that there's been a lot of melting. So it's been extremely warm during this time. You can tell that Layla's not even wearing a winter jacket, she's wearing a vest. And we don't really need a coat, and we chose the warmest day to come here, so our phone doesn't die. But yeah, so we will show you some pictures of all of the months so far, and tell me if you can see any differences in the pictures. Last month's challenge, there was a few. One of the challenges we asked you to do was to see if you can spot a tagapis on the moon, and you have to do that when it's a full moon. Remember the story from last month? And we tried, didn't we? We did. We went for a few walks, we stayed out late, tried to spot a tagapis on the moon, and it was kind of hard. I think we would have done much better if we had a telescope or something, but it was just neat to stay out and look at that beautiful full moon during kisepisim. The other challenge was during frost exploding tree moon, or kisepisim, was to spot cracks in the trees, hey?
Yeah.
We tried to look for cracks in the trees, and in fact, there's tons. They're everywhere. And I guess what left me curious was wondering if they were from the cold or what those cracks were from. But there was a lot, and we did spot some tree liquid, or amiskwaciy, in the tree, didn't we?
Yeah.
Remember, you were touching it and you were trying to feel, what is that? Yeah, it looked really cool. And the other challenge was to see if you can spot any waxwings, Bohemian waxwings, but also check to see if there's any more berries around or fleshy fruit. And the other day, you and I went for a walk, hey, and I said, let's count how many trees have berries left on them. And I think we only counted about 3 or 4.
Yeah, probably.
Not a whole lot left. That means all the squirrels have tucked them away for winter for their caches, and that means that a lot of birds have come and ate some of those berries up. And your other challenge was to see if you can make a bird feeder like Layla did. And did you get a chance to do that? And make sure you send me the pictures of your creations. One thing we noticed was that bird feeder, the Chickadee 2000, I think it was called, is very popular. It's actually right over there, and you can't see it right now, but there's a chickadee actually right on it. We've had to fill it up 4 times. This is the 4th time we've come back, and we can probably fill it up 2 times a week, and it would probably be empty. So it is a hit. The chickadees are loving the bird feeder. So send us pictures if you made one. We also want to share a video with you of the chickadees feeding off the bird feeder that we made. We were not able to spot any Bohemian waxwings around, which was one of the challenges, but we were visited by a lot of cool birds, and we did have a little visit from a wâskahikan. Do you remember what a wâskahikan is? Do you remember?
Yeah.
What is it?
A woodpecker.
A woodpecker. It was a pileated woodpecker. I'll show you a picture of what that is, but they are absolutely beautiful, like a larger size woodpecker with a really nice red part of its head. It was absolutely fantastic. We'll show you a video. Layla's been into birds. Well, I've been into birds. I hope you have too, but she wanted to share with you something she got in the mail the other day.
This is what my grandma gave me, and it's really special to me because my grandma gave it to me, and I love it so much. And I hope you guys find a book just like this.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. We've been looking up all the books that, or looking up all of the birds that we've been researching. So maybe you'll find a book like that too. Guess what? Guess what?
Guess what? What?
It's a new moon, and this moon is not as hard to say as wâskahikan. It's actually nice and easy. It's a new moon. It's called the Great Moon, and that translates in Cree to kisepisim. Can you say that?
Kisepisim?
Kisepisim.
Kisepisim?
Kisepisim. And that K-I-S-E before a word usually translates into something great, something big, something so unimaginable, a mystery we can't explain. And First Nations people have found the connections between those words, and you can see it in our language. And some of the words that start with kisi are kisepisim, the great moon, or kisimanto, which means the great spirit or creator, and kisepisim, which means the great, great kindness or great compassion. We've noticed that the winter so far has been pretty mild, but traditionally kisepisim in the next 2 months are some of the hardest, most harshest temperatures for us. And so kisepisim, or the great moon, comes at a time where we need kindness the most. So this is the time where we show all spirited beings, human, plants, trees, animals, we show all spirited beings great kindness and great respect and great gentleness. And we have to be gentle with everyone around us. So just as humans are trying to endure winter, so are all the plants and animals, and we're really all just trying to survive. And in fact, our Blackfoot friends have a question, and the question they ask, instead of saying, "How old are you?" they ask this question. We'll put it down here. Can you see it? We'll point down here. They ask this question. It's hard for me to say because I'm not a Blackfoot speaker, but the question translates in English to, "How many winters have you survived or had?" So in Cree, instead of asking how old are you, we'll say tando ki tipiponan. So, Layla, tando ki tipiponan.
6.
So she's 6. Itwit nihiwi.
Nikatwasik.
Nikatwasik. That means that's 6 in Cree. So it's not rude to ask someone how old they are. You can say tando ki tipiponan instead. A few cool things are happening during this moon. One thing I learned was that insects are frozen or can be frozen in the ice. So there's insects underneath the river valley right now that are frozen. It's called freeze tolerance. And that's what some of the insects are doing to endure or survive winter. And just like other insects, all the other little small creatures are trying to survive winter too. So just like the bees form that winter cluster, remember we talked about it in one of the videos? They form the winter cluster to survive, and they huddle around the queen and make the queen all warm. Well, ladybugs have an interesting way of keeping warm. They'll find rocks or stumps to hide underneath.
And I know what they do.
What do they do to survive?
They stack on top of each other to create warmness for the winter.
Yeah, so they go like this. They create like a little ladybug pyramid to stay warm. Yeah. And other insects use other forms of survival. So I learned that beetles actually dig way underneath the ground to stay warm, whereas some insects find tree bark to hide under. And we know what animal likes to find those insects. That's the woodpecker. And usually those insects will hide on the southern side of the tree so they get the warmth of the sun, most of the warmth of the sun. And another cool thing is bats are also trying to survive the winter. They are also hibernating. And some bats will fly south and they'll find warmer temperatures, but a lot of them like to stay and they hibernate. And I found out some really cool things about bats, and so did Layla, and we want to share with you some of those bat facts. Bat fact number 1. Bats can live up to 40 years old. What else, Layla?
Bats are the only mammals that can fly.
Bats are the only mammals that can fly. Okay, what other bat facts do you have?
There's only 1,000 types of bats in the world.
There's over 1,000 types or species of bats. Also, I learned that bats are really, really clean. They are constantly grooming themselves. Another neat thing about kisepisim, or the great moon, is that this is around the time that moose would shed their antlers. And there's so many questions I have about antlers, like what are they made out of and what happens when they fall off? Did you have a question about moose antlers?
Yes, I got two actually.
What are they?
Do they fight with their antlers?
Okay.
And do they hibernate?
Do they hibernate? Do moose hibernate? Okay, so we have a lot of questions about moose, and I think that's going to be one of your challenges, is finding out the answers to some of these questions. All right, so a few challenges for you. The first one is find out more about moose antlers. What are they made out of? What happens when they fall off? Do they fight? Do moose fight with those antlers? I don't know. There's so many questions. The second challenge I have for you is find out more about bats. What kind of bats live in Treaty 6 territory? How big are bats? When do they wake up? So questions I have, and maybe you can find out more about bats. Your third challenge is we learned some cool stuff about ladybugs, and I think that's pretty cool that ladybugs are like that, and they're strong and resilient. Maybe you can create a picture or some art inspired by ladybugs. And the last thing was that I mentioned last time, it's a time for stories, and that's when First Nations people tell stories. This is a great time to tell stories. So I'm going to challenge you to either find stories about some of our relatives or our animal friends, or maybe you can write your own stories about bats or about moose or about woodpeckers or about chickadees. Any story about our relatives, the animals, would be awesome. So I challenge you to do that. Okay, all right. So we're really happy that you can join us. Thank you for coming. Kisepisim. We're happy you've joined us for another new moon, kisepisim. We're grateful and honored that we can do this, and grateful that you've come, and grateful for a beautiful, beautiful day, and our phone didn't shut off. That's perfect. So we want to say that send us your pictures, send us your stories, send us your ladybug art inspiration, and you can win a prize. Tell them what the prize is.
It's this. So you can put some bird seed in it for the chickadee.
So if you send it as a class or you send it as an individual student, we'll send you our chickadee feeder so that you can have one at your home in your special place. So thank you so much. Hi, kisepisim. We'll see you later.
Except